Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are really getting into the weeds on some serious pro audio hardware. We're talking about the RME HDSPe MADI FX audio card.
Yeah, this isn't just another interface. It's kind of the benchmark for, well, massive channel counts and rock-solid reliability in the pro world.
And the spec that just jumps out immediately, it's almost hard to believe. We're talking 390 simultaneous channels.
Right, 196 inputs, 194 outputs.
All running through one single PCIe card inside your computer. I mean, that's handling the audio for potentially a whole orchestra plus the recording setup.
It's a huge number, and our goal today really is to figure out how. How does one card manage that kind of complexity? What's the architecture behind it?
So we're digging into the HDSPe MADI FX Audio Card Mastery Guides by David K. Hogue. Just a heads up, this is an independent guide. It's not an official RME thing, but it really breaks down the system.
Exactly. We want to understand that Hammerfall Legacy RME is known for the secret behind, actual zero latency monitoring and this fail-safe tech they have.
Ah, yes, the seamless redundancy operation. The thing that means your audio keeps going even if someone literally rips a cable out.
Pretty crucial stuff in live or broadcast situations. So yeah, let's jump into the core architecture. How does it get that speed and density?
Okay, so the MADI FX isn't just some random product. It's really the culmination of RME's Hammerfall series. They built their name on stability and low latency way back when digital audio was, well, flaky.
Right, they sort of set the standard. And the key to this card's speed advantage, it's the connection. It's PCI Express, PCIe.
So not USB, not Thunderbolt.
No, those are external protocols. They have controllers. They often share bandwidth. This is a direct line, a dedicated connection right onto the motherboard's PCIe bus.
Right, so it's like instead of using the, the regular roads with traffic lights and other cars, you've built a dedicated tunnel straight there.
Exactly, a dedicated highway, basically. It's a one-lane PCIe link running at 2.5 gigabits per second line speed. That gives you 500 megabytes per second throughput.
500 milliamps. Now, people hear about Thunderbolt speeds, maybe USB 3 speeds. How does that dedicated 500 millis actually compare in practice for audio?
It's all about the directness and lack of overhead. With external stuff, you've got driver layers, host controller chips, potential sharing. Here, it's the fastest internal bus in the computer, and it's just for the audio card.
So the transfer speed itself is never really the bottleneck, even with hundreds of channels.
Pretty much. It guarantees that the high channel count doesn't stumble over the data transfer itself. And that speed is needed because of MADI.
All right, MADI. Multi-channel Audio Digital Interface, AES-10 standard. That's the protocol that lets you send, 64 channels down one cable?
Exactly. 64 channels of digital audio over a single optical fiber, or even just a standard BNC coax cable. It's the pro standard for high channel counts.
And this card, the MADI FX, it has 3 MADI ports.
That's right. 2 optical, 1 coaxial, all independent. Plus you've got dedicated AC view in and out, word clock connections, and even 4 MIDI ports.
Okay, 3 MADI ports, 64 channels each. That's 192 channels just on the MADI inputs alone. That's where the big numbers start.
Yep, but there's a catch, right? Physics comes into play with sample rates. That massive channel count isn't fixed.
Ah, yes, the MADI SMUX standard. As you go to higher sample rates, you lose channels. Why is that?
Well, think about it simply. Higher sample rates, like 96 kilohertz instead of 48 kilohertz, mean you need twice as much data per second to describe the same single channel of audio.
More data points for the same amount of time.
Exactly. So if your data pipe, your bandwidth, stays the same size...
You can't fit as many lanes of traffic or channels through it.
Precisely. So at standard speeds, 44.1 or 48 kilohertz, you get the full 64 channels per MADI port.
Okay.
Go up to double speed, 96 kilohertz, and that capacity halves. You get 32 channels per port.
Right.
Go up again to quad speed, so 176.4, 192 kilohertz, and it halves again. Now you're down to 16 channels per MADI port.
Got it. So even at the highest common sample rates, like 192K, you're still pushing. Let's see, 16 times 3 MEA ports is 48 channels, plus the AES. You're still well over 50 total I/O channels.
Oh yeah, still a huge amount of I/O, way beyond typical interfaces. And handling all that data flow, distributing the tasks, that's the job of the internal Hammerfall Pro audio core.
That's the DSP brain inside the card.
Sort of, yeah. It's an architecture that spreads the load across different modules, and that's how they achieve that incredibly low internal monitoring latency. We're talking less than 0.1 milliseconds.
Less than a tenth of a millisecond, even with all channels firing.
Even at full load, yeah.
Okay, speed and channel count are sorted. But none of that matters if the timing is sloppy. This brings us to RME's, let's call it an obsession with stability and jitter.
The enemy. Yeah, it's basically timing errors in the digital audio stream. Those digital pulses that should be perfectly regular, they arrive a tiny bit early or a tiny bit late.
And that messes things up. How exactly? What do you hear?
It smears things. Transients, the sharp attack of sounds, get less defined. Stereo imaging can get blurry, less focused. High frequencies can sound harsh or brittle. It degrades the overall clarity.
So if you're connecting, say, an external mic via MADI that maybe doesn't have the world's best clock, how does the MADI FX card protect itself from that incoming jitter?
That's where Steady Clock comes in.
Yeah.
This is RME's own tech. It's not just passively locking to the incoming clock signal.
Yeah.
It uses a very high-precision direct digital synthesizer, a DDS, to actively analyze whatever clock signal it receives. Word clock, AES, MADI, doesn't matter. It analyzes it, and then it completely regenerates a brand new, ultra-stable internal clock reference based on that analysis.
So it doesn't just clean the clock, it rebuilds it from scratch.
Effectively, yes. It strips away almost all the incoming jitter. We're talking measurements of less than 1 nanosecond of jitter on regenerated clock.
Well, less than a nanosecond. That sounds ridiculously small. Can you even perceive jitter that low? What's the practical benefit?
It means subtle timing errors and phase shifts don't accumulate across your system. It maintains the clarity and definition, especially at higher sample rates like 96K or 192K, where timing is even more critical. Steady Clock acts like a firewall against bad clocking from external gear.
Incredible. Okay, so that handles jitter coming in. But what if the main clock source itself just gives up? The master clock for the whole studio fails mid-session. That's where the fail-safes are needed, right?
Absolutely. And there are layers to it. The first layer is called ICC, Intelligent Clock Control.
ICC.
ICC is constantly monitoring all the possible sync inputs. If the one you've chosen as the master suddenly disappears or its signal becomes unstable,
It notices.
instantly, and it automatically switches the card over to use its own internal steady clock as the reference clock.
And the key part, it does this without an audible glitch. No click, no dropout.
Seamlessly. It maintains the last valid sample rate it was logged to. But for mission-critical stuff like live broadcast or recording huge ensembles, there's an even more robust layer. That's SRO.
Seamless redundancy operation. Okay, paint the picture. Why is this so vital?
Okay, imagine you're doing audio for a huge live TV event.
Yeah.
Massive orchestra, maybe. You've got your main MADI feed coming from the stage box, probably optical fiber for the long distance. That's your primary line.
Got it. 64 channels of critical audio.
With SRO, you run a second identical cable, maybe coax MADI this time, right alongside the primary. Both are plugged into 2 different MADI ports on the card, configured for SRO. Both are carrying the exact same audio stream.
So you have a main and a backup running simultaneously.
Exactly. Now, disaster strikes. 10 seconds before airtime, a stagehand trips, yanks out the main optical cable. Total disconnect.
Oh boy, without SRO.
You lose all 64 channels, dead air. Catastrophe.
Okay, and with SRO.
The card detects the signal loss on that primary port literally instantly. It switches over to the secondary backup stream in microseconds.
Microseconds, not milliseconds.
Microseconds. The audio flow continues, completely uninterrupted. Nobody in the broadcast truck, nobody watching at home. Here's the thing.
What was a show-stopping disaster becomes just a little red light flashing on the card, indicating the primary failed.
That's incredible. That's true professional fail-safe design. It just keeps working.
It's about removing that single point of failure on the physical connection. And speaking of connections, there's also sync check.
Right, the visual feedback.
Yeah.
Helps you spot problems before they become disasters.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you the status of every digital input right there in the software. Sync, lock, or no lock. It's super helpful for diagnosing those annoying intermittent things, like maybe some dust got onto the end of an optical connector.
It all happens.
It does. Or maybe a BNC connector isn't quite seated right, or you forgot the 75 ohm termination. Sync check helps you find that physical issue fast.
Okay, so the card is incredibly fast, incredibly stable, has redundancy. But how on earth do you manage nearly 400 channels of I/O? That sounds like a routing nightmare. This must be where Total Mix FX comes in. Absolutely, Total Mix FX is the control center. And the crucial thing is, it runs entirely on the DSP inside the MADI FX card itself.
So it's not using your computer's CPU power, and it's not adding latency like mixing inside your DAW would.
Correct, on both counts.
Yeah.
It completely bypasses the host CPU and avoids the round-trip latency of your DW buffer. This is the key to genuine zero latency monitoring and mixing.
But still, 390 potential paths. How do you even look at that on a screen without your eyes glazing over? How did RME make it usable?
They use a really clear visual structure. It's based on 3 main rows in the mixer interface. Top row, hardware inputs. That's all your physical sources coming into the card. MADI 1, MADI 2, AES, etc.
Okay, sources at the top.
Middle row, software playback. This is everything coming back from your computer, DW tracks, system sounds, whatever.
Got it. Computer audio in the middle.
Bottom row, hardware outputs. These are your physical destinations.
Yeah.
Main monitors, headphone amps, M80 outputs going somewhere else.
Input, playback, output. Okay, that makes sense.
And the concept that unlocks it all, especially for monitoring, is what they call submix per output.
Explain that. How's it different from a regular mixer?
On a typical console, you usually build one main mix, maybe a few OSINs. In Total Mix FX, every single hardware output gets its own completely independent mix.
Wait, every output, so if I click on, say, headphones 3 in the bottom row.
Then all the faders in the top 2 rows instantly become the level controls, specifically for that headphone output. You can create a perfect custom mix for that musician, maybe more of their vocal, less drums, click track level just right, and it doesn't affect the main mix or anyone else's headphone mix at all.
Ah, okay. That's powerful. Total customization for every destination.
And it happens instantly using that onboard DSP engine we mentioned, which by the way runs at up to 192 kilohertz and uses 46-bit internal processing, so the audio quality is pristine.
Right, the DSP. So you can actually process the signals within Total Mix FX, again, without hitting the computer's CPU.
Yes, absolutely. Each input and playback channel has its own dedicated channel strip processing available on the DSP. You get a 3-band parametric EQ, a low-cut filter, and a dynamics section with both a compressor and an expander.
Per channel, wow.
Per channel. Plus, there are global send effects, a reverb, and a delay algorithm that you can send signals to from any channel.
This is huge for tracking. It means a singer doesn't just get their dry voice back in the headphones.
Exactly. You can give them their vocal with some EQ to make it sit better, maybe a touch of compression to even it out, and a bit of reverb so it doesn't sound so dead.
And they hear all of that in real time with effectively 0 latency.
Precisely. That kind of instant polished feedback can totally transform a performance. It makes the musician more comfortable, more confident.
I can see that. What else can Total Mix FX do? You mentioned routing flexibility.
Oh yeah, it's basically a massive digital patch bay, especially when you put it in free mode. And one really useful feature is loopback.
Loopback, that's for routing audio internally, right? Without cables.
Exactly. It lets you take any output mix you've created in Total Mix, maybe that perfect headphone mix, or a summed mix of several tracks, or even your main output feed, and route it back into the computer as if it were a hardware input.
Okay, so why would you do that?
All sorts of reasons. You could record that processed headphone mix directly into your DAW, or you could route your final mix output directly into streaming software, or maybe some multiple DAW tracks through Total Mix, add some EQ compression there, and loop it back onto a new track to print stems without leaving the box. No physical cables needed.
Very handy. Okay, with all this routing and mixing power, how do you manage settings between different projects or sessions?
That's where snapshots and workspaces come in. Snapshots are crucial. You set up the entire mixer exactly how you want it, all the routing, all the levels, the EQ settings, FX sends, everything.
And you save it.
Yep. You hit Save Snapshot, and it stores that entire state. The card itself can hold up to 8 internal snapshots for instant recall. Changed your mind, just load snapshot 3. Boom, everything's back.
Nice. And workspaces.
Workspaces take it a step further. They save not only all your snapshots, but also the visual layout of Total Mix FX, which channels are visible, how big they are, window positions. So you can have a workspace for tracking, another for mixing, another for broadcast output. Switching between them reconfigures your entire environment instantly.
Okay, let's bring this down to earth. Think about a real-world scenario, maybe a large hybrid studio with lots of outboard gear. How does a card like this simplify things?
In that hybrid setup, the MADI FX often becomes the central hub, the universal translator. You've got your DAW, but you also have analog consoles, effects units, maybe different digital formats like ADAT or AES.
Right, a mix of everything.
The MADI FX, with its massive I/O and Total Mix, acts as the bridge. You might use MADI to AES converters to talk to certain gear, MADI to analog converters for your outboard. Total Mix handles all the routing, the latency compensation for those analog trips, and gives you clean digital paths back into the DAW.
So instead of needing a bunch of different interface boxes for each format, the MADI FX plus some appropriate converters can tie it all together.
Exactly. It centralizes and simplifies the whole digital infrastructure of the studio. And for live recording, we touched on SRO for safety.
But also the MADI cable length, right? The optical can go really far.
Kilometers, yeah. Up to 2 kilometers for optical MADI without any signal loss. Perfect for running lines from a stage box back to a control room or broadcast truck far away.
So you've got the long reach with optical, the safety net with SRO.
And then you use snapshots in Total Mix to manage the logistics. Imagine a festival situation. Band A finishes. Band B is coming out. They have a completely different input list and monitor needs, instead of frantically repatching and remixing.
You just load Band B's pre-configured snapshot.
Instantly. The entire routing matrix, monitor mixes, everything flips over to second. It drastically reduces setup time and the potential for human error during those high-pressure changeovers.
Makes sense. Now, for people using this card day-to-day, the guide mentions optimizing performance, specifically around buffer settings. What's the advice there?
Yeah, this is key for getting the most out of any system, really. It's about balancing latency and CPU load. The general rule is use different buffer sizes for different tasks.
Right.
When you're tracking recording performers, you want the lowest possible latency so they feel connected. Set your DIW buffer low, maybe 64 or 128 samples. You can do this because you're relying on Total Mix FX, the hardware mixer, for their zero latency monitoring feed. The DIW buffer size almost doesn't matter for what they hear in that moment.
Right, monitoring is handled before the DAW buffer.
But then, when you switch to mixing, and you're loading up your DAW with tons of plugins, that puts a heavy load on your computer's CPU.
Yeah, compressors, reverbs, virtual instruments everywhere.
Exactly. At that point, you don't need ultra-low latency anymore. So you increase the DAW buffer size maybe to 512 or even to 24 samples. This gives the CPU more time to process everything between buffer calls, preventing clicks, pops, and system overloads.
Low buffer for tracking using Total Mix, high buffer for mixing. Got it. And one last practical tip from the guide: maintenance. Seems basic, but important for MADI.
Very important, especially with optical MADI. Those fiber optic cables and connectors are sensitive. Dust, fingerprints, even tiny scratches on the ferrule, the end of the connector.
Can actually block the light enough to cause problems.
Absolutely. It can lead to intermittent sync loss where the connection drops in and out. It can be maddening to track down if you don't think to check the physical connection. So keeping optical connectors clean is crucial. And for coaxial MADI, always make sure you're using proper 75 ohm BNC cables and termination if needed. Don't skip the basics.
Solid advice. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've seen the core elements that make the HDSPe MADI FX what it is. There's the sheer scale, that massive 390 channel count.
Unprecedented scale through a single slot.
Then there's the absolute stability built on the Hammerfall legacy, reinforced by steady clock tackling jitter, and made bulletproof by ICC and especially SRO for redundancy.
Rock solid reliability is the name of the game there.
And finally, the Control Total Mix FX, providing that hardware level, zero latency mixing, routing, processing, and workflow management with snapshots and workspaces.
It puts immense power at your fingertips, but in a manageable way. It really is a testament to disciplined engineering.
But let's bring it back to the creative side, like you mentioned with the onboard DSP effects.
Right, that ability to give a performer not just a dry signal, but a shaped, compressed, maybe a reverberant sound right in their headphones with no delay.
That's where the tech translates directly into artistry.
It really does. So the final thought, the thing to maybe mull over for you listening, is how does that change things? When a musician gets that perfect polished monitor mix instantly, that immediate sonic feedback, how does that fundamentally alter the energy they bring, their confidence, maybe even the choices they make in the performance itself, compared to tracking completely dry and just imagining the end result?
It potentially closes the gap between technical execution and creative expression right there in the moment.
Exactly. It turns a technical solution into a creative catalyst. Definitely something to think about for your next session.